We are going to dive into just your basic functionality of Skyslope today. Why is that important? Because you should know how to navigate Skyslope. It's pretty easy. There are some little tricks and stuff to it. So we'll walk you through those items. You should, when you start having your first few transactions, you should complete at least one transaction yourself without hiring a transaction coordinator, because you should understand and know how to utilize Skyslope in the rare instance that something happens with your transaction coordinator and you still want your file to get done and you still want to get paid. It's super important. Who doesn't want to get paid? So learning how to navigate Skyslope and being familiar with it is very important. To get into Skyslope, you're going to go to your one login. Mine's on my little button on my homepage or my browser. And then it's alphabetical. So you're just going to scroll down to the S's and find Skyslope. If you're logged in, which you should be by the time you can select there. If you're not logged in, it'll prompt you to log in before you can select the app. And then you're going to go over to Skyslope. Woohoo! All right. To navigate Skyslope, if you want to put in a new transaction, then you would go to, hold on, because well, that's not very nice. Mine's a little different than yours, but it should, oh, I don't want to mess up theirs. I'll get in trouble. All right. So if you go to manage transactions, yours probably has zeros across the top. If you go to manage transactions, you'll have a create transaction button. You should have one on your homepage as well. So when you log into this homepage, there should be a new transaction or new listing or create listing or something like that that you can select. But if not, you can either go to manage listings or manage transactions. And that's how you can open up and start a new one. So if we click on manage transactions, and I'll have to email Melina and let her know that I created a fake one. And then you go to create transaction is how you would start a new transaction. And this is for a buyer transaction. So you want to do them separately. And so, hold on, we're just waiting for this to load. It's going to ask you how you want to create it. You can do address lookup or Skyslope forms. So if you did address lookup, then you could just plug in an address. It will pop up any addresses that match that address. So if I were to plug something in here, it'll pop up all of those. So you just keep typing until your address pops up for the property that you're looking for. It's quite possible that if it's like a new build or something like that, that it may not show up in here. That was the actual one. Ample Street. If it's new, you just type in the whole address. So I just picked a random address. Oh, it's not going to let me do that. So we're just going to pick 95688 Vacaville. Let's see if it'll let me proceed forward from there. I'm trying not to select a legit address, but it may not be happy with that option. Hey, Adriana?
Yes.
What's the street number of your new listing?
California Drive.
Yeah, but what's the number?
Oh, 1679.
All right. Since I know this is already in there. So 1679 California Drive, Vacaville. All right, so we'll just select that one. It gives you that address down here. You just select it and now it's gonna auto-populate. I wonder if I could have like closed it, but I don't know. All right, I'm gonna change this now that we're in here. Sample Street. All right, What you're looking for inside a Skyslope are all these little red stars, asterisks. You're going to fill in that information. So here is where you would select your name. This is going to be the MLS number. If the property wasn't in the MLS, because this is a buyer transaction, it usually is, you would just put in A for the MLS number. Otherwise, you put in the actual MLS number. If it was a listing, it's not going to prompt you for that MLS number because it's probably not in the MLS yet. And then you're going to select over here this checklist type. Is it a commercial? Is it HUD? Is it lot? Is it multi-unit? Is it a new mobile home, a residential new home, a residential 1 to 4 units? Most of yours are going to be residential 1 to 4 units, short sale purchase. So see, new home purchases go into residential new home. Mobile homes would just go under residential 1 to 4 units, unless it's a brand new mobile home, and then it would be something different. If it's a lot, you'd put it under lot or land, but most yours are going to fall into residential 1 to 4 units. And then we're just going to continue to work through the list. And oh, just so you know too, it's helpful if in the co-buyer agent, if you are in the mentee program, you can put in your mentor here. So you can search for other agents. Except today you can't because it won't let you. Oh, just hit add. And then you could search for somebody here. So this will allow you to search through the agents. And if you add, the benefit of adding your mentor on here would be that they would be able to see your file in their Skyslope. So if you ever have questions or need help with something, they can actually log into their Skyslope and see exactly what's going on with your file. So just a little trick there. You're going to put in the sales price. This is what you're in contract for here. Right, and again, we're just looking for those red asterisks. Oh, this is, how is this? Is it a purchase or tenant, listing, sold, landlord, both listing and purchase? That would be both. Although if it's a listing or both listing and purchase, you would have started it under a new listing because the paperwork's different. So we're going to put purchase here. Your built is 1990. The source doesn't really matter. We're not truly tracking it, but just scroll through there and think about, how did you come upon this client? Was it a sign call, advertisement, open house, personal referral? That'd be like your sphere of influence, prospecting, previous customer, new home account, right? Farming, duty desk, MLS, office lead. That would be like your Zillow would probably be an office lead. Here's your sphere of influence, expired. So, right. So there's all these different options there that you can put in, other, whatever it might be. So if I selected other, it's going to make me put in more details. So we're just going to say it was a sign call. The escrow number, see, there's no red asterisk, so I just skip over that. Same with the APN. The office lead, is this an office lead? Yes or no? So, right. So if it was like a Zillow lead, then that would be yes. Otherwise, it's probably going to be no. This is the date that the offer was accepted. Please keep in mind that all your transactions are supposed to be in Skyslope within 24 hours of accepted offer or signed listing agreement. Okay, 24 hours. The reason for that is the broker, it says on the contract, is supposed to have the right to be able to reject or cancel that contract if it's a listing within like a couple day period. So they have to be able to review that. So just kind of keep that in mind. So we're going to put in today's date for acceptance. And then when is this property closing, right? That may cause you to have to do a little bit of math. Was it a 21-day close of escrow? Was it a 14-day close of escrow? Remember, if we accepted today, today is day 0. It doesn't count. So, 1, 2, right? So you would start on tomorrow as 1. So we're just going to pick a day, throw it out there as the closing day. Once you've got that information in there, you're going to hit next. And then it's going to prompt you to put in the rest of the information. So it starts with the seller. What is the seller's name? You should have put this on the purchase contract. So you should know the seller's name. It just asks for seller. You don't have to put in like 3 or 4 sellers. So oftentimes I'm like seller 1 and seller 2 last. There we go. Right. So I usually put them on the same line. Super simple. That's all you need for the seller. You don't have to track down the seller's emails or their company name or the street address where they live or anything like that. And then we just hit next, which should, oh, let's save. It's going to make me save it first, and then we will hit next. And that's going to take us to our buyer's name. Same thing with the buyer. I usually buyer 1 and buyer 2 last name, right? So I usually just put the buyers together. If there's more than one buyer, I just put them all on that line. And for your buyer, it's going to require you to put in a phone number. Okay, so that we have access to that. So you have to put in the first name, the last name, and the phone number for your buyers. Then we're going to hit save. And we're just going to continue on along. Here is your title, escrow, or attorney. This is who is the escrow officer, right? So this would be escrow officer. And again, you don't have to put in the street or the fax. They do need a phone number. So you're going to put in the escrow officer's phone number. Who's the title company, right? Who's it with? Is it Old Republic? Is it Placer? Is it Fidelity? Is it First American? Whoever that is, and then put in the email for escrow officer email at gmail.com. There you go. Once you've got that in there, again, we're just looking for red stuff. This would be the closing officer, which is the same. So we're going to try to bypass that. And we're going to see if it'll let us go on to next. All right, fabulous. Then we've got the agent representing the other side. This is the listing agent. You're going to put in their first name and their last name. You're going to put in their phone number. And you're going to put in their company name there on co-broker company. And that's all that's required for the agent representing the other side. Once you have that in, you're going to hit save. And you're going to hit next. And then we move on. Who's the lender? So you're going to put in the name of the loan officer, first name, last name. It's going to ask for the type of loan. Is it a personal, conventional, VA, or FHA? You should know that because you put it on the purchase contract. Who is their company? Lender. Company goes here. And that's all that's required there for the lender. Any questions so far? It's all pretty simple, right? All right. Once we have that in
Easy
there.
peasy.
Oh, yep.
I say easy peasy.
Easy peasy. Once we have that in there, then it gives us the submit button. So we're going to submit this file. And what it's going to do is, because we selected that it was a residential property, it's going to give us a checklist. Oh, you have to fill out the commission too. This isn't how the demand is picked up just for the information, but you're going to put it like, what was the sales commission? That's usually what was in to, oh, I put in the wrong sales price. Man, I put $6 million. 650,000 is what I was aiming for. I wish it was $6.5 million. That'd be fabulous. All right, so we updated that to 650,000 with 2.5% commission. It plugs it in there. And that's all I put on this page. And then I'm going to hit submit. Now it's going to try to trick you here. Every time it's going to say submit and open escrow. We don't generally open escrow through Skyslope. So Skyslope has the ability to open escrow. I usually do that separately. So here you're just going to hit submit, not submit and open escrow. Okay, don't get lured into the tricks of Skyslope. What it's going to do now, it's going to take us to the screen that you're going to use most. This is our checklist. So it's assigned us a checklist based on a basic residential 1 to 4 unit property. So if you selected mobile home or lot land or new construction, then it's going to give you a different checklist for those items that are for those transactions, which is why it's important to select that checklist type or that transaction type at the beginning. The other thing that you'll see here is this email address in the upper toolbar up here. It says email and it says sample street 1232 skyslope.com. That is your email for the transaction. Now, keep in mind that the California Association of Realtor and California laws stipulate that we maintain records for our email history for real estate transactions for like 3 years or 7 years or 27 years. I don't really remember how long it is. It's at least 3. And the way we do that without bogging down your personal email is that we make sure this email right here gets CC'd on all emails that have to do with this transaction, or that we forward emails to this email and it will create a log of those emails. So you want to copy and paste this. Usually when I open escrow, I include everybody, whether it's your transaction coordinator or the escrow officer, the lender, the other agent on that email where I send over the fully executed purchase agreement. And in that, I usually say, and this is the transaction email. Please make sure to include it on all correspondence regarding this transaction. What happens is it'll log this into the log. So that's the important part up there. You also just want to double check that all the information looks accurate up there as well. So this is your checklist. So these are all the items that we have to include as part of this transaction. And there's lots of different ways to include those documents. So just so we know, we went through the transaction tab. That's where you can update the transaction information. I'm back up at the top. We updated the contacts. That's where we put in the buyer and seller information, the listing agent, title company. That's all under contacts. The commissions tab was the last one we messed with before we hit submit. And that's where you can update the commission. And then we're on the checklist. Okay. The other thing that we have is the property that goes into more property details. There, I don't enter in any of this information. I don't ever click on the property tab. I also don't click on the task tab. That would be if you were going to set up like a checklist of things that needed to be done. You could manage it here under the task. Your log is where all activity that has to do with this file is going to be kept. So if we log into the log now, see, if we go down to the bottom, it says, hey, Amy created a new transaction. Here's the information Amy entered. Amy added seller, Amy added buyer, title and escrow, agent on the other side, lender information, Amy updated the commission. So it tracks all that. If I were to send an email to this transaction, which I'll do here in a second, let me control copy email address. I'm going to go to my email now. And I'm going to find somebody I'm sure has sent me. Oh, probably not in that one. Let's find an RPA. No, it's the trust advisory. Here we go. All right, I'm going to forward this email that I got, and I'm going to send it to that Skyslope email. So see, I just put the sample street.1232@skyslope.com in there, and I send that email on its way with those attachments. That way you all can see what that's going to look like inside of the file. So now if we go back to documents, as we continue our tab journey, I'll show you what the log looks like here in a minute after we give that email time to send out and be received. So now if I go to documents, any documents that have been added to this file, either something that I've uploaded or when I sent that last email in here, it's going to log those documents here under the document list. You can upload documents. So if I send the documents to that email address, it will automatically take them off the email and put them in here. Or I could upload a document here as well. So let's say that I wanted to upload this document. I just hit upload document. I find it on my computer, hit upload, and now it's put those documents in here. If I wanted to see what that document looked like, if I just hover over the eyeball, it'll pop up a preview for me to see what that document is. And you're like, Amy, why is that important? Well, I'll show you here in just a second. Okay, it also, see that email that I forwarded, it has now sent that email, it's been received, and it logged those documents here as well. I've got a residential purchase agreement and a SIP, a seller to remain in possession after the close of escrow. If we jump back over to the log, I'll show you that email as well. So now in our log, it's added that there was an email received. See, it says email received here on the left-hand side of the page with a little paper clip indicating that there was an attachment to that email. It also said that, hey, Amy uploaded a transaction document here and Amy previewed a transaction document here. So it really does log everything you do in here, or anybody else does. If the transaction coordinator got in here and did this for you, it would track that that transaction coordinator did it. Or if your if somebody reviewed documents from the office for compliance purposes, it would show that they reviewed the documents as well. If we wanted to see what email that was, if we click on the email received, it's a hyperlink to that email, so you can see what was in the body of that email and who it was originally sent through, as well as you can see the attachments that were attached to this. So this upholds the laws that we're required to keep for the email history. Okay. So now if I just come back, so it opens it in a new window. Okay. So any questions so far about how to navigate through the Skyslope transaction to see the different tabs or do anything to that sort?
So for that email, is that your email that you're CCing on all of, no, so that's their email or?
So any emails that have to do with this transaction, whether they're between you and the buyer, you and the listing agent, you and title, you and the lender, you and your transaction coordinator, you would want to CC this email address right here in the top info section. You want to CC that email on all correspondence, or if it wasn't CC'd to that email, you would just forward it on along.
Okay, so that's not like, that wouldn't be my real estate email. That would be just, okay.
Yeah. So you would send and receive stuff from your real estate email, but then you would also CC this email as well, so that all the email history goes into this log.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, so can I use that sample street thing or just make up a different email?
Anytime you create a new Skyslope file, it will create an email for you based on the property address.
Okay,
So
now
this
I
one,
get it.
it's usually the street name followed by the street number. So it's sample street 123.
Okay.
I've obviously created a previous sample street file. This is my favorite address because it doesn't actually exist. I try not to get in trouble with YouTube. So it's got sample street 123, and this is the second transaction with this address. So it added a 2.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Absolutely. So yeah, it'll populate it for you once you create the file, either on the listing side or on the purchase side. As soon as a file is created in Skyslope, it creates an email for that file.
Okay, but yeah, just make sure that one's CC'd on everything.
Yep, or forwarded.
Okay. Okay.
Any other questions? All right. Fabulous. Now you're like, Amy, you showed me that checklist. How do I get things pretty on the checklist? So our goal is, see all these things say required, and you're like, oh my God, this is overwhelming. Look at all these things that say required. And then there's other things that say if applicable. I am completely overwhelmed. I don't know what I'm going to do. It's so simple. So simple. So let's say that you've got a disclosure regarding agency relationships that was attached to your residential purchase agreement. There's a couple different ways that you can assign a document to this. You can come over here and hit attach. So if you have the file and it's all by yourself, you can upload documents here. So I could upload the document. I could find that agency disclosure on here. And I could, hold on, I'm going to find something we'll do that one. Hit open. So I just found the agency disclosure that I had on my computer. I'm uploading it to the file. And now it has attached a document to there, and it says pending. Because when I upload something, now the compliance department in our office, which is like Melina, she's going to have to log in there, review that document, make sure it's accurate, completely filled out, and the right document. if she reviewed this file now, she'd say that's the wrong document. You can also hover over the paperclip to make sure that you have added the right document to the file, and it'll pop up a preview if you're patient of the document that's uploaded. So you can see, oh, look, there it is. It's an agency disclosure form right there. Okay, it should just be the agency disclosure. This document that I uploaded is like 45 pages. So if you have a document like that, that's like 45 pages and you're like, well, it's like 20 of these documents, Amy, I'll show you how to do that. But first, the other way that you can attach something here is you could hit the attach button. You could select from the documents that are in the document queue for this file. So documents arrive in here either because we've uploaded them or because we've CC'd that email or forwarded the email to that email address, that Sample Street email address, and it logs all of those documents. So I could also select one in here and hit assign. You can upload more than one document to each line item. So if it was appropriate, you could do that. Now, if I click on the paperclip, instead of getting a preview because there's now 2 documents, it's going to pop up a separate window and it's going to give me the option to look at either the documents that are uploaded. Okay, so if you upload more than one document, it'll pop up a list like this when you click on the paperclip so that you can see those documents. The other way, so that's really simple if you've got nice, clean documents. I sent out a contingency removal, they sent it back, it's signed, it's all by itself. I could attach it that way, either from the email history because it's in that document log or from my computer just by hitting attach. Okay, if I go into the documents tab, this is the other way that I can assign documents. I could come down here. Okay, now notice when I look at my documents tab now, there's documents in there and some of them have paper clips. That means I've already assigned that document to a line item on the checklist. The ones without paper clips have yet to be assigned. So that's the difference there. If they've got eyeballs, it's a PDF. And if there's no eyeballs, it's probably because it was a JPEG or something like that. Like it's an email signature or it was something to that effect. Like it's a picture, not a document. From here, I could check the box here and I could hit up here. I could go assign. And then I could pick out SIP that I want to assign that document to that line item. Most of our line items in the file, you can search either by name and it'll show it there, or you can search most of them by acronym as well. So this is the seller in possession form. So I can search either the SIP or I could search seller. And then you just select it from the window. It's going to pop it up here. And then I hit assign. Okay, again, that works if it's just single documents without a lot of stuff attached to it. Now it's got a paper clip there. If I go back to the checklist and scroll down, now I've got my seller in possession form is assigned right here. Okay, the other way that I can do it is like our residential purchase agreement has like 10 other documents attached to it, right? It's got our agency disclosure, our PRBS, our wire fraud advisory, or California Consumer Privacy Act, our buyer's inspection advisory, the residential purchase agreement. I mean, the list goes on. And you're like, Amy, how am I going to deal with that? I don't know how to split that apart. It's all right. I've got you. So right here, we've got our residential purchase agreement. We come over here to this button that says split, like a banana. Banana split. We click on it. It's going to pop up a list for us. It's also going to pop up a preview of that document. So over here, I can be like, oh, page 1 is the agency disclosure. So that would be an AD, too many options, AGENCY, agency disclosure. And that's page 1, and I'm going to scroll, and page 2. So right here, I'm going to say from page 1 to page 2. And then page 3 is our fair housing. So now on this next line, I'm going to search fair housing. And that's page 3. And just so you know, it tells me what page I'm on up here at the top. Page 3 and page 4. And then I'm going to scroll to page 5, and that's our PRBS. possible representation of more than one buyer or seller, and that's just page 5. And then I'm going to go page 6. It's our wire fraud. And again, that's just page 6. Oh, and then page 7, 7 pages in, we finally get to our RPA, residential purchase agreement. And then I know that that residential purchase agreement is several pages long. So we're going to just keep scrolling until we get to the end of that residential purchase agreement. We should be getting close now. 12 out of 16. All right, almost there. We have made it. So this is page right here. It tells me this is page 22. So pages 7 through 22 is my residential purchase agreement. And then I'm going to keep scrolling down to my BIA. Buyer's inspection advisory is page 23 and 24. Woo, so much work. And then page, this is my appraisal. Let's see, fair. Let's see, I don't see that this is in here. The fair, appraisal. Oh, it's not an appraisal though. We'll put it under the fair housing. Or we should have addendum. Let's look for, we have addendum 1s, additional addendums. So I'm going to put this is a Fair Appraisal Act addendum, which I did not find. Let me just search the acronym real quick, which is FAAA. Nope. So we're going to put additional addendum here for the Fair Appraisal Act addendum, and we can put lots of addendums there under that. So anything that doesn't fit somewhere else is going to go there. And then we have our privacy right there, which is page 26. And that brings me to the end of the document. Once I have everything picked and selected, does anybody have any questions about how I did that?
No.
All right. Once I have that, then I'm just going to come in down here and I'm going to hit split and assign. Deborah, did you have a question?
No, I'm just trying to switch devices.
All right, no problem. All right, so I'm going to hit split and assign once I've selected everything. And there might be something in there that's not completely done yet. You can just skip those pages. So that I could have done like pages 1 through 2, 3 through 4, and then skip down to page 6 and then 7 through 22. So I split 8 documents and 8 were attached to my checklist. You can either return to documents or you can return to checklist. So we're going to return to our checklist now. And then here, now it shows us that we've uploaded all of these documents that now show as pending. We still need our pre-approval letter. We need our earnest money or proof of buyer's deposits, page 16 of the escrow acknowledgement, right? MLS pending page, which may not happen till later because it probably should go contingent first. Your contingency removals, right? So some of this stuff will just happen as the transaction progresses. This up here is your official documents, and then you move into your disclosure documents. So these are all of your seller disclosures. If there's something that's marked on here that maybe you don't need, so maybe there's no county, city, or local disclosures, we can just come over here to the notes box and you can just put no county or city disclosures. Most cities and counties have them, but let's say you're working on one that doesn't, you're just going to fill that in and then save. Now that note will be there, so when they come in to review the file, they can mark that off as completed or not required. Okay, down here are all your reports and inspections, the NHD, you've got the full report and then the signature page, your CC&Rs, your prelim, all that stuff is going to be in here. Any inspections or reports that you have done, your pest, your roof, your pool, it all goes in here. Everything that gets signed goes in a place. Okay. The commission demand, you're going to fill that out, sign it, and then it gets uploaded here. Your agent emails PDF or CC that Skyslope email. That's what we were talking about with the emails. Once you've CC'd or forwarded all the emails and you're getting ready to close, you're just going to come in here and put all emails have been forwarded or CC'd to the address. Word id. There we go. And then don't forget to hit the save button to save your notes. Okay, so that's at the very end. You're going to come in there and put that little note in there after you've made sure that all those emails have been forwarded into this. It also is a good idea, just so everybody knows, it's not required by state law, but if you have the ability to be able to print up your text history with your clients or the listing agent, I highly recommend doing that as well and plugging it into this file. So in case there's ever a lawsuit or a dispute or something that comes up, that text history is saved and you can utilize it, because so much of our conversations now happen via text. You may have really pertinent information that you need in your text messages in case something ever came up. Once the property is sold, it gets marked sold in the MLS, you're going to upload that. This closing document is kind of like the last thing that you do is the property sold. The FERPTA we usually get from the title company. Okay, that's the seller's affidavit of non-foreign status, whether they have withholding or not. That title company usually sends over to us. And then the broker closing package, that's what gets sent to the office with your checks. That gets uploaded by the office for you. So they'll attach that one. The FERPTA oftentimes to the office attaches because they get that at the close of escrow as well. But you're going to make sure to do the CC'd or emails, the sold page, and then upload and sign that commission demand. So any questions about how we attached documents to the items on the checklist? Everybody's good? It's really not that complicated. It looks a little overwhelming and scary when you first open up a Skyslope file. And like I said, you really should do one transaction by yourself so that you're familiar with it. You know how it works. You're comfortable with using Skyslope. And after that, you should start using a transaction coordinator who will take care of all of this for you, and you'll never have to log in to Skyslope again. When you somebody comes in here and reviews your file, so we have all these pending things. So if somebody were to come in here and review these, they're either going to mark them as accepted or rejected. And if they're rejected, they'll put why. They may be like, buyer didn't sign agency disclosure, right? Or something like that. You will get an email with, hey, Melina has reviewed your file and here's the updated checklist, and it'll show you what was accepted, and it'll change color and what got rejected and what's still required, so that you can keep track of that, whether you're logging into it or not. Any questions? Thoughts, feelings, ahas?
I'm glad we have Melina. That's overwhelming, but I understood it all, but
Good.
It's overwhelming to me.
Yes, it's a lot of work. It does, like, because not everything comes in at once. Like, you kind of get the RPA, and if you had a listing, it's going to have you upload all your listing documents first. So like the active MLS and your listing agreement and all those things. So it has a whole nother section called like the listing documentation down lower. And you have to get all of your listing documents in there first before you can accept an offer. So just a heads up on that. But it's not super complicated. And again, please do one and then hand it off to a transaction coordinator. It's worth every penny to not have to get in here and do this. I promise. And your transaction coordinator is going to do more than just sign off or put these things in Skyslope for you.
Okay. I also have another question too. You know how you said like keep track of your text messages and putting them, how do you do that? Like, how do you upload that? Do you know?
Yeah, so that's a fabulous question. So I have a MacBook and I have an iPhone, and I get my text messages on my MacBook. So on the computer, it's really easy to go in there. You can go control. Let's see. I think I can just hit print. There's some way to do it. There we go. And it prints like the text history that I have for that person.
Okay.
So on a MacBook, it's really easy to do. If you have an Android or a regular computer, you don't get your text messages, I'm not sure that you could screenshot screens and then send
Mhm.
it to, so you'd have images of it and then send it to email those images to that Skyslope email address, and then at least they would be logged in there someplace.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. It is important though. I've had a couple legal issues where you have to go back through and find all your text messages. Luckily, I don't delete anything, which is why I have a whole whopping, let's see what I've got here. I've got 1,443 unresponded to text messages, not because I didn't read them, they just didn't need a response. So you can only imagine how many actually responded text messages I have on my phone. And I started cleaning those up, and I'm glad I didn't clean them all up. But yeah, so anyways, I recommend saving that to the file somehow so that you can delete them off your phone. Any other questions with regards to Skyslope? When you're in your homepage, it'll pull up like this. It'll give you, I'm set up, I can view everybody's files. That's why I've got so many numbers up here, but it'll just tell you like how many you have scheduled to close this month, how many active listings you have, how many pending, how many closed, right? If any are expired. And you can click on that number to open them, or you can click on manage transactions, and that will also bring up your list of transactions as well, or manage listings. So manage listings will get you into active listings, and manage transactions will get you into any under contract transactions. Once your files are complete, they get archived. So if you've done a file and then closed a file, so you can either come up here to the search, and you can usually search like area LLD. Oh, there. So if it's archived, you can search it in the search bar, or I could go into access archived, and it'll give me the whole list of whatever transactions you've had that have been archived. So those are the two ways to access something that's closed. And you're like, Amy, why would I ever want to do that? Well, it's a very good practice that come like December or January, that you go into all of your files that you've closed for the previous year or that year if it's December, pull up copies of all of the final closing statements. So like if I go into High Sierra Meadows, it's an archive transaction. I could go into this file. I could go back into the checklist, oops, which I'm already in. I could scroll down to almost the bottom. Right here, the closing documents, and I could open up this closing package by hitting the paper clip. And then I could download this, or I could print it. And really what I'm looking for, I'm not wanting to send them copies of the checks. I'm looking for the final closing statement right here, and send your clients a copy of their closing statement so they have it for their taxes. Most people don't remember where they put this. They don't have a record of it. So you could come in here. Once I've opened it, I can either download it, or I could just print the pages that have the closing statement, which would be like pages 7 and 8. So I could hit print, and I could go save as PDF, pages, custom 7 to 8. And then that would allow me to save those pages as a PDF to shoot off to my client. And just a little, that's a nice little touch at the end of the year or the beginning of the year to say, hey, just so you make sure, I wanted to make sure you have this for your tax purposes. Here's a copy of your closing statement for the transactions that we had this year. So it's a really nice little touch that you can go in there. Or sometimes clients will call you up and be like, hey, who is the home warranty information again? And you're like, I don't remember. The home warranty information gets uploaded into your Skyslope file. So it's in there, the closing statement's in there. They may want a copy of the SPQ or the TDS for some reason. So that would be a really good way to go in there and access that document and be able to send it to them, as you can access any of your closed files in here as well. Any additional questions, thoughts? You want me to go over something again? If you had a transaction that canceled, when you go into that file, that's probably not the right way. It'll give you the option to cancel the contract. So let's look at oh, Beverly. I was like, where's the one that's pending? So it'll give you the option. It's usually like up here, it'll say cancel transaction, or it may be up here, cancel transaction. So if somebody cancels it, you want to upload that cancellation of contract and then come into transaction actions and hit cancel transaction. And that way everybody knows when they're reviewing it that it's been canceled. Wah, wah, wah. Okay, everybody good?
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
You're welcome. In the chat box is the link to log your attendance for today's class. If you have any recommendations for future trainings, throw them in there. It gives you a little spot. I am putting together the calendar right now for June, July, and August. We have some good trainings coming up. I'm mixing it up just a little bit. And next week, I have the seller Q&A on Tuesday at 11. So if you have any questions, like random questions, it can be seller-based, buyer-based, whatever. We're just going to have like an open forum where you can ask those questions on Tuesday. On Wednesday, we're going to cover the appraisal package. I'm going to go over what I do for all of my appraisals on my listings and how I prepare for those and what that looks like. So that'll be on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, we'll be going over how to create forms in both Jot Forms and Google Forms. So if you wanted to create like a end of transaction, like a client survey form or a registration form or something like that, I'll show you how to do those in both those programs. And then our new calendar will come out, which will handle that next week on through the end of summer. Anastasia, questions?
No.
Oh, okay. You were just
The baby
unmuted,
fell-
so I thought maybe you had a question.
The baby fell asleep. She's snoring on me.
Okay.
No. Great class. Thank you, as usual.
You are
And I look
welcome.
forward to next week's classes.
Yes, next week will be fabulous. Oh, and then on don't forget on Tuesday, also Tuesday at 3, we have Scott. I think his name is Scott from Omaha, Nebraska. He'll be on Zoom. It's not the same link, so make sure you get the regular link. It's in the foxhole. I think it also went out via email, or it will be going out via email on Friday. But he'll be going over how to use AI or Chat GPT in your real estate business. He's super hands-on and super successful at integrating that into his business. He uses it for just about everything. He'll be fabulous, but he's going to teach a class how to utilize that, help you write listing blurbs or Facebook posts or all sorts of fun things that you can do in Chat GPT. So we'll have that on Tuesday at 3:00. We will record that one as well. So look forward to that one being posted. If you can't catch it live, but I highly recommend catching it live so you can get any of your questions answered, because I will be useless for you on getting your questions answered on that one. And so that's Tuesday at 3 as well next week. And then in June, on the 22nd, see what happens when I finish class early. I just rattle off for the next 10 minutes. I'm joking. But June 22nd, save the date. I think it's at 11 a.m. I'm pretty certain it's at 11 a.m. We have an agent from Southern California who is super successful at those notice of default properties, securing those as listings. So those foreclosure or pre-foreclosure type properties, marketing to those people and securing those listings and getting those sold. So he's going to come on in June and teach a class for us on that on the 22nd. And then I'm working on July. There's an agent that's super good at YouTube and creating YouTube videos, like area specific. I'm trying to get him to come in July and show us what he's doing on YouTube. So we're trying to put together some once a month upper level classes for you guys. Okie
Nice.
dokie.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Alrighty. Well, everybody have a fabulous evening, and I will see you next week on Tuesday at 11 a.m. for our open forum. And if you have any questions before then, never hesitate to reach out.